Space. Hey everybody, what's up? We're going to space today. We're going to be doing some mid-century modern design. If you want to learn how to do mid-century modern, it's a lot of basic shapes, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. How to use basic shapes, how to use the Pathfinder tool, and even some tips with strokes and effects. So we're going to be going into the 50s, 60s, into that mid-century modern. I live very close to Palm Springs, which is famous for their mid-century modern architecture. So we're going to take some inspiration and head to space. So if you want to join me, you can grab this source file down in the comments. Sorry, not in the comments, in the description. There is a source file for you to follow along, and that source file looks like this. This is where we'll be working today. I do want to point out one thing before we get started. It is this Insider community. So our friends at the Insider communities for Adobe Illustrator are looking for beginners in Illustrator. If you are just learning Illustrator, you're just starting out, we want you to help us. We want you to have exclusive looks at beta features that are coming, to get your feedback and participate in a small little community that will help us make Illustrator better. So if you want to be a part of that, if you are a beginner in Illustrator, you can go to adobe.ly/AI survey. Capitalization does matter here. So AI survey, go ahead and check that out. All right, let's hop in and get started here. Our challenge today is to use basic shapes and the Pathfinder tools to create a mid-century modern inspired design. So I'm going to show you kind of the steps to create some of these elements, and then we can piece them together. And yes, we are going to be going to Mars. I feel like, let's go to the moon actually. The Mars is a little more turn of the century. Let's go ahead and go to the moon, because that was kind of mid-century. I don't know how history works. It feels like that was mid-century. So we're going to go to the moon, which means we want to start with a very simple background. And here we can just use the rectangle tool to click and drag out a background. And I have provided a color palette for you over on the side. If you want a different color palette, it's super easy. All you need to do is go to color.adobe.com. So color.adobe.com is the place to be. You can click on explore, and then maybe we can type in mid-century. And check it out. It is pulling all of these mid-century kind of color palettes. This one's really fun. I love these. So if you want to find your own color palette, you can do that very easily here on color.adobe.com. None of these are really sticking out to me as like a space theme, but there's some great mid-century color schemes here that you could use. I'm just going to use the one that we have here. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to create the moon. So we're going to really center this. I think a lot of mid-century modern had simple shapes. It was very centered, very grounded, and very symmetrical. So we're going to play with that today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the ellipse tool over here. And you can see I have my smart guides on. I'm actually going to kill this text at the bottom because it's messing up my smart guides. And what we're going to do is just place the moon. And what we can do with the ellipse tool, we can click and drag and hold shift. So when we hold shift, it will make it perfectly proportionate. I also learned another trick here. If we hold alt, right, we go from the middle, you can actually hit, oh no, it only works with squares. All right, well, now I have to show you the square. Okay, so we're going to hold shift and alt to make a circle here for the moon. And then we're going to use the eyedropper tool to change the color to this white. What I was trying to show you is if you make a rectangle and you hit up or down, it literally was working yesterday, Andrew. All right. Never mind. It's a hotkey that doesn't exist. I made it up. I was playing with hotkeys yesterday and thought I discovered something, and obviously I'm doing it different. So we made our little moon. I think that that's great. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to put some big type on top, right? Something that feels, I don't know, feels like mid-century, right? Very elongated, very luxurious, and very symmetrical. Again, we're playing with symmetry here. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the type tool to click, and we are going to just name this Space Frontier. T-I-E-R? T-I-E-R. T-I-E-R? I think that's how it's spelled. I just spit everywhere. Y'all are lucky it's not close up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and look for a font that is a little bit wider because I know that that's what I want for this mid-century look. And I can scroll through here. I do know that I want a sans serif. And let's see if we can find something. I kind of want to use Adrian. I already know the one that I want. There we go. And let's do some italics. So we're going to center this, and I'm just going to do some quick edits to this to make sure that it is locked in and looking good. We're going to open up that type panel, hitting Control T, and I'm going to change the leading right there. And then we're also going to make space just really large so that it really locks in there. So it looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to move the moon down and put... Sorry about that, y'all. Not sure what happened. Had a little hiccup. So I'm going to place it right in front of those letters. And it is looking good right there. All right, so it is just updated a little bit, looking good. Let's go ahead and play around with some effects. And these effects are going to allow us to really have a cool kind of take-off look. And this is very mid-century, is kind of having the momentum to fly into space. So what I'm going to do is a fun little trick that I like to use. I'm going to create some lines. I'm just using the rectangle tool here. And we are going to click and drag so that there is just another copy of that. So we're going to do 5 of these. And we are going to hit Object, Transform, and Transform again. So we're going to do that 5 times. So we have 5 right here. Looks good. And then I'm going to make these that light blue. So just using our eyedropper tool, we're going to make that light blue. And I'm actually going to make these very long. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to use the Pathfinder tool to join all of these together so that they become one shape. So we'll go to Window, we'll go to Pathfinder, and then right here we will click on Unite. So now they are all one shape. As I move them around, it is a compound path. So a simple path that is a whole bunch of shapes. Now we're going to use one of my favorite tools, and that is the envelope warp, grid warp, what is it actually called? I believe it's envelope distort. There we go. So envelope distort, and we are going to make with mesh. So this is how we're going to get a really cool mid-century look to give us that space kind of vibe. So we're going to do make with mesh, and now we have a rows and columns. This is how we can break up what pieces we're using. I actually only want to do 2 segments. So I want a small segment at top and then a really wide segment at the bottom. So I'm going to set this to 2 and 2. And you can see there it's divided it up into that grid. So now I can easily play around with it. And when I hit OK, now you can see, let's make this not this color. It'll be easier for us to see. Let's just go ahead and make it red so you can see some contrast. You can see that we now have this grid over our shape, right? And what we're going to do is we are going to use the direct selection tool to select one of these points. So you can see as I pull these, it is going to continue to mesh and kind of move things around. It's really liquefying. It looks like it's dancing. You can really play around with some cool effects here and warp some very simple shapes into things that are very complex. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab the top here, and I'm going to use the scale tool over on the side. And the scale tool is going to start right here. So I'm just using the direct selection tool to just grab the top points, and I'm going to hit that scale tool, which is just S. And then I'm going to click and drag in, and you can see how it's starting to pull that in, right? Looking really cool. And then I could grab maybe the bottom here and pull it out, and you can see that we're getting this very like wavy, warped look that I think is very mid-century. I think this is super cool. So I'm gonna pull this in a little bit more, and maybe we wanna move this up, right? So we have like a pathway that is leading to the moon. There we go. That perspective looks pretty cool. So you can really play around with that by using the scale tool on each of those points to create something really cool. And the great thing is this is all still live. So I'm going to double click and I can come in here and use the eyedropper tool to grab that blue and change it around. So it looks pretty good. We are going to put it behind the moon. So I'm hitting Control and left bracket. And then we're just going to scale this whole thing down so we can get this really cool kind of journey to the moon. Ooh, I love it. I love it. So we are going to put a clipping mask around this. I'm just going to copy the background, Control C, and then go to Edit and Paste in Place. And we can just create a clipping mask by grabbing those two and grabbing a little clipping mask right there. All right, so we're looking good. I do want to do some of the like stars that you see a lot in mid-century work. If you need reference, you can go over here to Adobe Stock and you can just type in mid-century. Let's do mid-century modern. So doing mid-century modern is going to give us a lot of reference. Some of this is really cool. I'm looking for a reference of what we're about to create right now. So this right here is a great reference. So we're going to create kind of these little pieces that you see that are like these little stars that are floating. I feel like they're everywhere when you look at mid-century modern work. So let's go ahead and show you the easy way to do that. There's a hard way and an easy way. I'll show you the hard way first. So the hard way is to grab the pen tool or the line tool right here, and you can click and drag and then go in and select a color and then apply the stroke and like do this whole thing. And then you'd have to come in here and then you'd make a little like circle on the end. We'd have to do this and have like that. So there is a very, very hard way to do that. There's also a super easy way to do that. And the easy way is to grab your line tool and then just click to make some of these lines, right? So we're trying to kind of cross them in the middle. And if you want to, you can add that stroke before you get started by just grabbing the line tool and then changing the stroke right up here to make sure that you have a stroke as you keep going. So then maybe let's do one through the middle here. And you kind of want to make sure that they are crossing in the middle. I think that's part of the aesthetic. And you want it to be super wonky, super different. And I think that this is what's up. So let's go ahead and select all of these. And this is the easy way to do what I just showed you. You can come over to your stroke panel. And from here, we're going to increase the weight. There we go, that looks pretty good. And then we can do something called arrowheads. And arrowheads are gonna give us a little extra thing on the end of whatever line you're using. So if you're using this to make arrows, if you're using this to make things that are pointing, there are really great options here in arrowheads. So the one on the left is going to be on the left side of your path, and the one on the right will be on the right side of the path. So I'm going to scroll down here and right there. So we have a perfect little dot, and that's what we want. So we can click and it's gonna add this gigantic dot to the end. That's fine. We're gonna do it on the other side as well. Scroll down and add this dot as well. So you can scale these so that it's much more customizable. We can go ahead and do 50% and 50%, and it will scale those down. So we've got this cool little chandelier look. We also can align it so that the end of that arrowhead hits the end of the path, or the arrowhead hits the center of the path. We want it in the center of the path just because I think it's better for now. I don't know. I don't have a reason. I just think that it's right. I just think it's the right answer. So we have all of this here, and now I can add some fun color, which I think is going to be this red. And I can grab the eyedropper tool, and here's a little hack for you again. I love giving you little hacks. If you click with the eyedropper tool on something that has a stroke, it is going to fill it with that color. It's just going to grab that color as a fill. But what you can do is you can actually hold shift, and what it's going to do is as long as the stroke is selected, it will only change the color of the stroke. So it won't change it to a fill. It will only change the color of the stroke, which right there is looking great. So we're gonna use this and we're gonna scale it down and then bring it over here. So we've got some really fun, nice pieces. And what's cool about this is as you stretch it, so you just saw right there, as I stretch this, it's not going to make those circles into ovals. This is a really great tool if you're trying to kind of play around with the way you want it to look. Super easy because it will always keep those circles because they're not circles. They are technically just arrowheads, right? And so they always will be a circle. And then I can grab right here, I can grab the line segment tool and we can just do that one more time. And maybe we want a small one. I'm gonna show you one more way to create some mid-century stars as well. So we're going to select all of those. And again, very quickly and very easily, we are going to add in those arrowheads right there and right there. We could have just made a copy, but I figured it was easier to do them on their own. All right. So that looks good as well. I think I'm totally fine with that one. Let's give it a little more of a star look. Oops, put it down here. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do another version of star that is very mid-century. I think mid-century has this kind of like swoopy star that's pretty signature to the look. So the easiest way to do the swoopy star, and let me see if I can find another example. Again, right here, these kind of swoopy stars I feel like are very reminiscent of mid-century modern, and you just see them in a bunch of places, these swoopy stars as well. So you could come in here with the brush tool and try to like brush out like a very swoopy star, but it's hard and it doesn't look good. Here's what you can do. That star is actually just a square. That's right. It's just a square. So we're going to do a square here, and I'm going to use, what color haven't we used? Let's use some of this white maybe as a star. I think that works. And what we're going to do is we are going to use a tool called Pucker and Bloat. We're going to rotate this by 45 degrees. We can grab the rotate tool right here, click and drag holding shift, and it will shift it by a perfect 45 degrees, which is what we want. And then we are going to use effect. We are going to use distort and transform, and then pucker and bloat. And what this does is think about it as sucking air in or out of this shape. So as you go to the left, it is going to suck air out of this shape. There you go. And it's going to start to get really kind of squeezy into the middle. But if we pump more air into the shape, it is going to get much more bloated. So it is getting bloated in between each anchor point, if that makes sense. So it's not bloating the entire shape, it's bloating between each anchor point. I think these clovers are actually really cute. We could use them in another design, but for this one, not so much. So they're like very 70s flower power, I think, is well, there's it going. So I'm gonna, again, create our little shape here, distort, transform, pucker and bloat, and then I'm just gonna pull it in to create some of these mid-century modern stars. So hit OK, and the cool thing now is because this is a regular square, we can actually grab these anchor points using the direct selection tool. And I love scaling individual anchor points. So we're going to grab these two anchor points, grab the scale tool, and then just click and drag, and it will actually only scale. You can see we're only stretching vertical kind of width. So it's making this diamond. We can do the same thing, grab the sides and maybe pull them in a little bit. So we have this very elongated star. And then if we wanted to change this so it feels like it's too sharp, you can go over here to your appearance panel, floating right above my head, appearance panel, click on that effect, and then we can actually bring it down just a little bit, right? I want a little bit less, and that looks pretty good. Let's just go ahead and shrink this down. All right, that's looking pretty fun. Now, if we want to create another version of this kind of star, maybe we want to do an outline version to sit somewhere, all you need to do is go to Object. Actually, can we just change this to a stroke? Let's try it. I was going to do it the hard way, but there's an easy way probably. Yep. So we can change it to a stroke, and it's going to create this nice little outline. But you're missing the thing that is the mid-century modern, and that is the very sharp kind of angle. What you want to do is come to your stroke panel over here and change the limit. So the limit is basically how many pixels a path can go past the point. Right now it's set at 10. And so it is only going 10 pixels past this point and then cutting off. If we change this to 100, it is going to, pardon me, it should be going to a much sharper kind of angle. I'm not sure why the limit is cutting off like that right now, because I don't think it should be. I don't know what's happening there, which is interesting. But what we can do is we can go ahead and, as this is a filled shape, let's go ahead and undo this until it is a filled shape right there. We can expand this. And I tried to do it this way and then I got distracted. And yes, someone's asking metered corner. That is what should have happened. I think that I was doing it wrong, or the way that the shape was with the effect was affecting the way that the meter limit works. So if I put a stroke on this, you can see it is cutting those off. If I change this meter limit, it should give me a point. Why is it not giving me a point? Also, what's happening here? All right, weird things are happening. Weird things are happening. All right, so here's what's happening. And here's what's going wrong. What you're trying to do, and yes, great problem solving by someone in our live chat. Put the stroke to the inside. That will fix all of our problems and give us that sharp edge. Perfect answer. That is why I love these streams and why I love doing them live. That's why I love working collaborative on these creative challenges, because you can help me out. I can help you out. We can all post it in our Discord and have great ideas like that one. That was a fantastic creative problem solving. So what I was trying to do and trying to show is if you have a corner like this that has a stroke on it, you get this point right here. So if those get very tight, those points can actually get very, very long. And if the limit is set at like 5, so if this limit is set small, what it's going to do is it's actually going to cut off that edge. So this is what was happening. And I thought the problem was the meter limit. I thought it had to be higher. And so I would change this to higher and it should have given me the point. But I think the effect stacked on top of the shape is what was happening. The inside stroke is the correct answer. That was a great save. Fantastic idea. So we're going to add a couple more little sparkles here. And I think this is looking pretty okay. I might change the color of some of these to do some of the yellow. And again, you can just scale these and they will really give you some unique shapes. Sweet. So I think this is looking really good. I think it's super fun. And remember, we are using those meshes to scale the points up, and that allows you to kind of create this look. Now, something that I love to do with mid-century modern stuff is just throw a wood texture on it. I think that it just like looks better anytime. And someone's saying also save. I'm going to show you how to export in just a second. So we can go to stock.adobe.com/free, and that will give us only free resources. So I can do wood texture. And we're just going to drop this on top of our design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find one with a lot of contrast. Let's see here. Very contrasty. I actually really like what's happening here. So I'm going to grab this one and we are going to go to license for free. It's going to download that for us. And 1 second. Whew. That mute button coming in clutch so you guys don't have to listen to me sneeze. What we can do is we can just drag this into our document. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of my downloads and drag it into our document. And that's the wood texture that I just downloaded. So with this in our document, we're going to do a little bit of a hack, and that is going to be an opacity mask. So I'm going to hit Control Y, which is going to allow me to see through shapes. And I'm going to select the moon that we have as well as our texture. I'm going to come over here to our transparency and hit Make Mask. So you need the circle, which is our moon, selected as well as the texture. And what it's going to do is it's going to punch out the texture of that shape. So Control Y to go out of previews again and check that out. We've got this cool wooden texture inside the moon. If we want to edit the size, we can open that transparency panel, click on our texture, and then maybe just scale it down a little bit. Yeah, that's looking cool. That's looking really cool. So we've got this weird thing that's happening with our shape right there, but I'm not worried about that at all. I think that I'm going to put the same texture maybe in this shape as well. And again, super easy. All you need to do is grab the wood texture and the shape that you are trying to make an opacity mask with, which is our kind of lines. And then you hit Make Mask, and anything that's overlapping is what is going to show. So already that's looking really cool, but I do need to change this. I'm actually just going to make a copy. There we go, and bring it down there. So this is looking pretty cool. I am not mad about how that's looking. That's really cool. In theory, I'd go in and kind of erase part of this so that it would go in. But this is looking really cool. And again, if we wanted to do it, I know we only have 1 minute, but I want to do it to the title real quick. So we're going to paste this wood in there. I'm going to go to outline mode, select both of those, make mask. There we go. All right. So we've got some really cool textured pieces here. And to export, we're going to go to File, and then export and export as. From there, we can upload it to Discord, or you can just take a screenshot and paste into Discord. You can join the Discord by going to the link down in the description. I'll be in there to give you feedback, just like you helped me today. I will help you over in Discord. So thanks for joining me, everybody. We will be doing more of these creative challenges here in Illustrator and hopefully having a lot more fun. I'm excited to see your mid-century modern pieces. You don't have to do space. You could do furniture. You could do luxury. You could do do food, but play around with simple shapes, play around with those meshes that I showed you, toss some texture on it at the end. And I will see you over in Discord and another time for another creative challenge here on Adobe Live. Bye.